My name's Alex, and what started as a simple act of kindness turned into a terrifying night I'll never forget. It all began when my new neighbors, the Johnsons, asked me to look after their grandma while they urgently visited their sick daughter at a boarding school far away. Little did I know, this simple favor would lead me into the depths of darkness. The Johnsons warned me that Grandma had a tendency to sleepwalk at night and gave me a cozy room near her, reassuring me that everything would be fine. But from the moment I met her, I could tell there was something off about Grandma. Her eyes held a haunted look, and her movements were slow and deliberate, as if she were moving through molasses. I asked her, "How are you doing, Grandma?" To which she replied, "Rificulous." Reficul, what the hell shouldn't it be ridiculous? I thought she mispronounced because of her lack of teeth. I shook off my bad feelings. Their house was very big and cozy. The room they gave me had a nice TV, and the facilities were so good, and they also had a very fast Wi-Fi. I was happy to stay here for the night. But as the night wore on, Grandma's behavior became increasingly erratic. She muttered incomprehensible words in her sleep, her voice low and guttural, sending shivers down my spine. But it wasn't until the clocks struck midnight that things took a sinister turn. Grandma suddenly sat bolt upright in bed, her eyes wide and unseeing, as she uttered, "It is 3 a.m., time for me to have food." I told her that it was only midnight, but she insisted on the time. To my horror, the time coincided exactly with the clocks in the house, but I heard it struck midnight minutes ago. My heart raced as I realized that something was terribly wrong, that Grandma was not herself, that she was possessed by forces beyond my understanding. Or am I hallucinating? I looked at the time on my phone. It showed 3 a.m. I tried connecting to the internet, but the Wi-Fi was down right at that moment. I tried to calm her, to soothe her back to sleep, but she thrashed and struggled against me, her strength far greater than her frail frame suggested. Desperate, I managed to lull her back to sleep, hoping against hope that the worst was over. But as I returned to my room and settled in to watch TV, a sense of unease settled over me like a heavy fog. And then I heard it, the sound of banging coming from Grandma's room, growing louder and more insistent with each passing moment. I called her Grandma, but got no reply. I called even more loudly, but I only got banging sound as the reply. Heart pounding in my chest, I rushed to her room, only to find her standing before me, a kitchen knife clutched in her trembling hand. Her eyes were wild with madness as she advanced towards me, muttering dark and incomprehensible words under her breath. Fear gripped me like a vice as I backed away, my mind racing for a way out of this nightmare. But then, in a moment of clarity, I grabbed her by the shoulders and shook her, pleading with her to come back to reality. And then, as suddenly as it had started, it was over. Grandma collapsed into my arms, her body trembling with exhaustion as she sobbed uncontrollably. It was then that I realized the true horror of what had just happened, that Grandma had been trapped in a nightmare from which she could not escape. She had sinister smile occasionally. It was like she was trying to fight her inner demon. And then, just when I thought everything was over, Grandma's eyes snapped open, a look of pure malice in their depths. Without warning, she lunged at me, her hands clawing at my face as she shrieked incoherently. In a panic, I scrambled to my feet and fled the room, Grandma's manic laughter echoing in my ears as I raced through the darkness. But no matter how fast I ran, I could feel her presence looming behind me, her twisted form stalking me through the shadows. I ran to the kitchen and went inside, hoping that she would not find me. But after some time, I heard footsteps approaching me. My heart began to beat faster. I wanted to run, but had no courage. But then I saw a grinning face looking at me. She finally found me. With all my remaining strength, I ran and entered the room I first saw. This was Grandma's room. Before I could lock the door, Grandma pushed it open. I called her, "Grandma, do you need something to eat?" She said no, and then said something incomprehensible. She was trying to catch me. I saw the key hanging on the door lock. I closed the door, locked it, and ran outside. I could hear a roar coming from the room. I called Johnson's and asked them to come soon, explaining the incidents briefly. They dismissed it as a hallucination caused by my lack of sleep. Till the next day, I was sitting on a chair in front of Grandma's room waiting for them. In the light of day, the Johnsons returned, their faces drawn and weary from their journey. They were happy for my help and gave me some pocket money, but I refused. I just wanted to go away from their house as soon as possible. I tried to explain what had happened, but they dismissed it as a simple case of sleepwalking, attributing it to Grandma's advanced age. But I knew the truth, that something dark and sinister had lurked within the shadows of the night, something that I could never fully understand. And as I watched the Johnsons lead Grandma back to her room, I knew that the darkness would always linger, waiting for its next opportunity to strike.